What's up, everyone? I'm Justin Fiedler from DIRTRACKR, and this is the Rico Rundown. This season, I'm taking you inside the Rico Abreu racing team as they compete for the High Limit Series Championship and race in sprint car events from coast to coast and even around the world. At this moment in early March, Rico and the team are off for a little break after the opening stretch of 8 races where they competed with both High Limit and the World of Outlaws to start the 2024 season. In this episode of the show, we'll talk Volusia, East Bay, and Golden Isles, and Rico will chime in with his thoughts on everything that's gone down so far. At Volusia during DIRTRACKR Nationals, the team was fast right off the truck every night with quick times in their group on 2 occasions and a worse qualifying effort of 3rd.
And for Rico Abreu, his first lap time, quick time! 13.3, 78.13, 3.78.
The week also saw 4 heat race wins, with Rico the only driver to win all 4 of his heats, and that turned into 4 straight dash appearances. Rico joined David Gravel and Gio Scelzi as also in the dash each night. As for race finishes, 12th the first night, followed by 2 second-place runs Thursday and Friday. That Friday run also included 24 of 25 laps led, with Rico getting passed very late by Tyler Courtney for the victory.
Abreu down low to block the move into turn number 1. Back straightaway for the final time and into turns 3 and 4. Abreu to the cushion. One last chance for Sunshine on the bottom. Abreu a bobble on the cushion and Sunshine steals it as they cross the line.
I wanted to know from Rico how he handled a situation like that where a late mistake on the cushion leads to a tough beat.
Yeah, I put a lot of that on Ricky and the guys, and their outlook on those circumstances. Obviously it's a disappointment to be in that position. You never want to be in that position. But I think it's a huge learning curve. So you look at it almost as a positive. Yes, I was gutted the second it happened and a few minutes after the race. But, I really try to find the good in those circumstances. And, we qualified well that night. We dashed well. We heat raced well. Ricky made some very, very critical changes to our car that night to allow us to have speed like that, and then getting some track position. You look at all that and you break it all down and you understand that, we were one of the better cars in Volusia. So, going back, you have all that data now, but it's just important to, put those nights behind you pretty quickly because, us sprint car drivers, we race 85 times a year and we have literally the next day we're repeating, and you want to move on from that past race and focus on the next one. And, that's what makes those guys so elite at the top level in our sport is they move on quickly, they adapt quickly. And, you don't want to turn 2 bad nights, one bad night into 2 bad nights. And you can do it very quickly by dwelling on a poor finish like that. Exciting for Tyler to be in that position. I'm sure the fans loved it, and Johnny Gibson, caught everybody off guard right there at the last second. And I wouldn't really, going back and replaying it all, I don't think I would have changed anything, breaking the race down. I started to move down in 1 and 2. I know Volusia is a very, very difficult track to when the lanes change. And, there was a bunch of standing water really low in 3 and 4, and I never ran 1 lap down there, that whole feature. And, I migrated off of the cushion in 1 and 2 as we caught traffic. And then, 3 and 4, I kind of just let it flow through the corner there. And the cushion got very difficult to run. So, you had to, choose your points and pick when to pick the throttle back up. And I might have just picked it up a little bit too early, but I don't really think, looking back at it, like I didn't do anything wrong besides just jump over the cushion. It's just the wrong timing, really. And, everyone was messaging me, said I should have moved down, but I didn't run 1 lap down there the whole feature. And I had no idea that Tyler and Brad were running down there. I mean, now that you watch the video, you can understand why, but I just, I didn't run down there in traffic. So I don't know why I would just on the last lap change the process of what I was doing. So, I just think I live and die by the cushion, and it's a style of racing that I enjoy. The challenge to running the cushion, especially when it gets tricky like that, and sometimes it can bite you, and you move on, and you just keep focusing on putting top 5s together.
That night, Rico also had a tough situation with Brenham Crouch in lap traffic, and I asked him specifically how he dealt with that after the race during interviews and why he felt it was necessary to address it and to apologize to Crouch.
I think the level of my career and where I'm at, and taking accountability, owning up to mistakes, nights like that, I took him out of the race because of a fault on my end, and was still able to maintain speed, right, and keep leading the race, and I just felt that it was my right to own up to apologizing at the end of the day. I just I felt like I made the mistake, and he was there to it just didn't fall his way that night, and and then I kept going, and I just thought it was pretty simple that I made a mistake, and I apologize.
The team closed out DIRTRACKR Nationals with an 8th on the final night to make it 3 top 10s in 4 Outlaw starts. Next up was the season debut with High Limit at East Bay. This was the first time the New Look National Tour was on the track, and it began the championship chase for Rico and the team. Big fields for both events, little rain mixed in, but both programs did get completed. In the daytime show, Rico started 5th and mixed it up all feature long, right around the top 5, racing with Brad Sweet and Anthony Macri and Corey Day. At the end, it was a solid 7th place run to kick off the year. And in the nightcap, Rico had some work to do starting from the 13th position, but it didn't take him long to move forward. He was up to 7th within a few laps and then into the top 5 past halfway. On a restart with 10 laps to go, things got really wild with Zeb Wise and Corey Day as Rico tried to go 4th to 2nd. I'm not even going to talk you through this one. I'm just going to let the video speak for itself.
4 pulls away from Zeb Wise. There goes Rico. Slings the 24 straight to the outside of the racetrack. Coming after Corey Day and Zeb Wise. 3 wide for... Oh! Rico hops the right rear of Wise. How did that car stay on the ground? And it didn't flip. I have no idea. Rico still going at it with Wise for 3rd. Holy cow. Rico was looking straight at the ground right there. The front end. Wow, that was wild stuff as we come across.
I still, weeks later, don't know how Rico didn't crash there, but I was curious to hear from him how the situation looked from the driver's seat.
It was crazy. That race was a race that I really, really think about. As I've matured in my career, and how crucial positioning is in these races, and reflecting back, I feel like at the end of this season, when we sit back and think about that race, really is, I feel like, going to define, the decisions I make going forward this season. So, I felt like I got a massive launch off of 2. That race was wild because I started 13th. I got up to the top 5 pretty quickly. I got by Brad, and I felt like we were in a really, really good position. My car was super comfortable, and I was able to run everywhere, top, bottom, 1 and 2, top 1 and 2. And I got a huge launch off of 2 on a restart that Zeb ran the bottom, and Corey Day followed him, and Zeb just missed it a tick to allow Corey to put him side by side off of 2. And I just look at that whole backstretch situation as like sprint car racing, in if you would ever explain it to a fan, how quickly things happen, how difficult it is to judge depth perception, and how important it is in our sport to take chances like that, but to understand the limits of the chance that you take, and it makes racing really, really exciting. And I just, the door closed a lot faster than I predicted and anticipated, and it got Zeb kind of hung out, and he was already peeling off, and his decision was made to be on the top end of 3, and there was a car there that it just happened very quickly, and I don't know how my car didn't flip upside down outside of the racetrack over the fence, because it felt like it was super high, and the engine zinged, and it was smoking, and just to really process that whole race there, and thinking about how to hold your composure after an incident like that out on the surface, and when you do collide with somebody, and you save it, and you don't know if your left rear tire's going flat or the shocks are blown off or the ladder's blown out of it. And so you're racing out there, and I, Brent Marks and Brad got back by me, because I missed the bottom into one, and then I got back by them, and and I was going to be I felt like a top 5 car, and just a poor decision on my part at the end of the race.
There at the end of that clip, Rico mentioned a poor decision at the end of the feature, and he was referring to a failed final corner slider on Zeb that ended up in Rico tipped over, turning what would have been a top 5 into a 17th place result. When you're racing for a championship, split-second decisions like that can mean the difference between winning or not, and Rico shared his thoughts on how he'll look at that night for the rest of the season.
For sure, a lesson, and it brought, that last lap crash brought like great integrity and great chemistry to our team, to where we were able to discuss like what's going to happen next, like how we're going to process things going forward from that night on. And it really allowed me to just sit and think, like, I have to, you have to have a little bit different perspective going into these races, and, focus on different areas, and allow these feature races to play out. And I felt like that position I put myself in with Zeb on the last lap, it was a split second decision, to where I'm extremely glad it didn't take him out of the race. When we hooked bumpers like that, but I should have just settled for my top 5 or my top 6 finish, and putting myself in that position where I hesitated with Brad peeling off on the last lap in 3 and 4, and Zeb pounding the fence down, and I hesitated where I was going to run into the back of Brad, and it just, built up that quick hesitation of putting myself in the most extremely bad spot I could put myself in, besides wrecking with Zeb, prior to that. So, that hesitating just shortened that slider up a little bit, and allowed me to hook bumpers, and, kind of just shoved me into the fence, and knocked me out of the race. So, you just think about those things, and coming down to the end, we're just fighting for positions here. And I know it's a sprint car racing, and last year it wouldn't have been a big deal to me, but now you're fighting for a championship when every position matters. So I think you just focus now on going on runs, and, understand, how this sport really works when you're going to go chase a championship, and going on a run like consistently top 10 finishes consistently, and turning those into top 5s consistently, and then turning those top 5s into podiums, and the wins will come. So you keep positioning yourself, focusing on qualifying, and that's really what I learned that evening at East Bay was, this is a whole different ball game to what I'm used to doing now. Is putting, now I have to really, really focus on when I'm in position. You take advantage of that, and when you're not in position, you focus on those, -1, +1, -1, +1, when you're not feel that comfortable in the race car out there.
Leaving East Bay, Rico and the 24 team headed to Golden Isles, 9th in the standings. They were 35 back of leaders Corey Day and Brad Sweet. And Golden Isles was an interesting 2 nights for the high limit teams, as the Georgia track is not a fixture on any sprint car schedules. Rico told me the service was pretty tricky, got slick down the straightaways, but was still really fast. That practice night on Wednesday allowed them to start working in a direction, though, with the setup. It was, again, solid qualifying efforts and 2 more good heat race finishes. I think that Thursday surface threw the teams a bit of a curveball, and Rico ended up 7th after starting in 4th. But the team was ready for it on Saturday. They moved forward from 8th to finish 4th in that feature event. In watching that race from the infield, I think another couple of laps and Rico could have made a serious challenge for the lead. But it was a solid top 5 heading into the break, and it moved the 24 up 2 spots to 7th in the championship standings. I know the team with Ricky Warner, Zach Middlebrooks, Brady Forbuck, they're bummed they didn't get a win in that first 8 nights, but there's a lot of good to take away. Qualifying was clearly a strength, as were the heat races. 6 heat wins, plus a 2nd and a 3rd, and 6 of 8 dashes made. Drivers need to be in those dashes each night to have a realistic shot at winning features. Rico and the guys know they have some work to do come feature time, but that final night at Golden Isles was a step in the right direction. In this final clip from Rico, we'll hear how he feels about this early part of the season.
You look at the big picture of the 8 races, and I feel like we started to get, as a team, that consistency groove back in. It wasn't all podium finishes, and we got, bitten right there at the end of the race in Volusia. But, if you look at the overall package of the 8 races, we qualified well at all of them, put ourselves in good position in the heat races, getting ourselves into the dashes, and then, just really focusing on racing through these whole feature events. So it was, I am just, I'm happy with it. We had lots of discussions as a team to be able to, where we could have been better. And I think, certain events we could have done things a little bit differently. Obviously my end, with the DNF at East Bay, but, just overall, I felt like we qualified well. We heat raced well. We got into, more than half of the dashes, and, we put ourselves in pretty good position in the features.
Around Volusia, Rico got to hang out and do some fun stuff with El Bandito, Yankee Tequila, nothing like a little dirt racing and some adult beverages amongst friends. Next up on the schedule for the Rico Abreu Racing 24 team is a little bit of time off, but they'll be back to racing soon. The high limit schedule will be back rolling again in April with a stop on April 9th at the Riverside International Speedway. That's also the first of the midweek championship races within high limit. In the meantime, though, Rico does plan on hitting up some of the World of Outlaws races, so stay tuned for that schedule. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Plenty more to come this season. That's it for this edition of the Rico Rundown. We'll see you guys again very soon.